everyone. So we're doing Bishop Heights, or Heights in the Owens Valley.
So, we just came back from the Owens Valley, but what we call it, we've always known it as, is Payahunadu, which translates out to the land of the flowing water. I know that, a lot of the big, course topic that we listened to, when Dean up there was, the water, the different uses, the different periods that it was used, whether it was our usages, the Owens Valley Paiutes usages within creation of irrigation ditches, to the ranchers, to later on LADWP and what is kind of going on out in Southern California. We definitely heard a lot of, different sides of, just how the water should be used, and kind of just where we've gone from initial contact. And it's a big, broad topic, and there's really no one single solution. And I don't even really believe that a single entity or direction they couldn't even comprehend or even come to the scope of how much this really means in the Sierras and just the water in general.
So this is the map of the Great Basin tribes. So the Owens Valley Heights are up in this range, and Monarch Heights are up here. So they're known for making baskets and being really expert basket makers. They also traded obsidian with native tribes from Yosemite and even Chumash. They found obsidian from China.
Yeah, so we actually didn't really cover a whole lot of that, but what we did pass by on our way up and going up all the way up to the Mono Pass was the different obsidian quarries. And the furthest southern one is actually in Coso, which is sort of near where we were yesterday in the Fossil Falls. It's actually just east of that area is the southernmost obsidian quarry, and it's just the composite of really how fast it cooled. I think I could be wrong, but yeah,
yes.
How fast it cooled just really made the obsidian just great. It's great. I mean, you can even there's flint knappers who can make it sharper than surgical steel. It's an incredible tool, incredible usage, and our people became expert flint knappers. You can find, I'm sure we came across a couple of shards and just flakes just throughout the trip itself. But we have extensive trade routes. We trade with a lot of the people across the mountains. We trade with even the Mono Paiute towards where we were. And there's actually a really common pass that is still used today for a traditional walk that we used to use for thousands of years for trade in Yosemite and the Mono Lake area, and just up and beyond. There's trails all throughout the area. And we trade with the Chumash, trade salt, their shells down here and everything. I mean, it's a useful tool, and the tribes just throughout a lot of California were just connected just through trade. You need goods, and you can only find them in certain areas, and
So these are some of the baskets. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at them in the museum. So these ones up here for gathering backpacks and baskets here, and over there, I guess they wound the jugs so tightly that they would hold water and they'd line up with sap.
Yeah, those what the kids are actually holding are actually water bottles, and it's pretty incredible that I feel like that you could even weave really that tight, and you could actually tell even by sort of the shape that these, because it's a photo, it's actually a newer water basket, because the old ones that are dated a lot longer, they actually took on a kind of a cone shape towards the end, and it almost kind of branched out similar to a tree. Sort of thing. I'm not necessarily sure why or what was the reason why they kind of switched to that. Maybe influences of seeing canteen and how it's kind of more rounded could have had something to do with it, to why they didn't do just the cone shape anymore. But oh yeah, we'll get to that. I think that's not quite a winnowing basket. These are winnowing baskets right here. That's what they're making. There was a couple of them in the cultural center. If you guys were to walk around, and Cultural, I mean, the winnowing baskets are mainly used, they can be used for cooking, they can be used for sorting out a lot of shells, not shells, but seeds, pine nuts and stuff like that. I know that we actually used to cook in them as well. So you get a bunch of pine nuts and they put them all into the winnowing basket with some hot coals, and what they would do is they would just constantly just keep, you know, kind of just shuffling it around. And because of it was just up in the air, and there's photos of it, and like literally just coals and just pine nuts just up in the middle of the air, and they were just able to catch it. The wind would carry the hollow seeds or the hollow shells, the ones that weren't good or rotted or whatever it may be, and they would carry them out while simultaneously cooking. And you know, it's just, we didn't have pots and pans, metals and stuff like that. So you know, this is just our one way that we'd use to cook. Another way, especially if it was game, is we do a lot of deep pitting. So they would cause, like, you know, coals in the fire, and they'd wrap it up and I think get it wet and just bury it, leave it for a day or two. It's just a different way. Right there, this I'm not exactly sure what stance they're doing, what they're wearing, like kind of the loincloth. It's rabbit furs. On the top, they're wearing on their heads. It's raven. A lot of that kind of, I believe it was kind of like associated with like a warrior, kind of like what we kind of wear. I mean, I think it would even be a lot more painted if like they were actually going out to war, but you know, that was the men. And then this is a lot of the women. They would wear baskets on their head. Not necessarily sure why. I would imagine shade. And it's a hot place. It's I mean, we weren't there for it to be hot, but there's a lot of sun. It's very dry, and you know, so it's harsh.
So it's estimated that 70% of the ditches found in the Owens Valley are native ditches, which later tie into like the first take or credible first take of the water wars. I guess they use mahogany, mountain mahogany from the mountains, and I was saying that they burn the tips and they use them as like crowbars to prepare the ditches.
Yeah, and this is just kind of similar to like what my dad's work that he's kind of done. He was referring to as the ancient irrigation ditches, and I believe that estimate was actually more of the Bishop area. It was 70% of the agricultural ditches and just ditches just in the valley in general were at one point ancient irrigation ditches that were just later, you know, retrofitted to, you know, accommodate Western practices of farming. And the way that we looked at the land and the water, we looked at more of just dispersal and just kind of even flow with the natural state. And then you just have the water just meander along. You know, I've been out with my dad plenty of times to actually see these and actually kind of even develop an eye of how to find a lot of these irrigation ditches. And compared to like, you know, conventional methods of farming today, like it's completely different, because I feel like today is more of like, and even with LADUP, is how can we get water one way to another the most effective way. Same thing with farming. What are they going to do? They're going to till out straight lines. They're going to floodplain it. They're going to do, I guess, how they know how to farm. But I feel like it's very wasteful and ineffective. And we just had, you know, just a different, you know, understanding of the water and just the land, and you know, just being able to spread that out. And I mean, I'm sure that we could have even gotten a lot of these ideas by even just seeing natural like flows. Like, you know, we passed by a ton of these alluvial fans and stuff like that, and you know, those are, you know, from the glacier melt and everything. So if we were to witness kind of how that did and how that kind of fanned out and created these lush meadows and you know, light streams just to kind of, you know, fan out throughout the land, you know, could have been, you know, some sort of just, you know, maybe my first ideas of what that was. And you know, we were just talking about the ancient Bristlebone pine, you know, we read before here, both of you guys, and also up near in the White Mountain Range is the mountain mahogany. That's where we get the big giant lodge poles. And what Marcus was saying is yeah, like we get these big giant lodge poles, and you know, they're, you know, 10 and 12,000 feet up high in elevation, so they have to go up there and first get them, bring them back down to the valley, and treat the wood at the end with fire, and it would just cause it to harden. And it was just almost like steel, like, again, like a crowbar. All these ancient irrigation ditches were mainly built by hand and with these mahogany poles, because you could just, if you could get underneath it, you could build lifted rocks or whatever it may be. It's very strong, you know, piece of wood, and especially when it's been cured like that. They're usually about, you know, they're thick, big giant pieces of wood, and then usually went up, you know, 8 feet high or so. These big giants. Like, so even if you had multiple people to try and like wedge something out, if you're trying to do a big rock, or whatever it kind of was, you definitely couldn't. You know, they just kind of made it work. You know, we didn't have tools. We did have tools. That's not true, but we didn't have, you know, modern day tools of shovels and stuff like that.
So it's like food grows, water flows.
So there were some executive orders that were given out. So Executive Order 1529 set aside 67,120 acres to benefit the Owens Valley Native Americans. And when Statute HR 11969 withdrew certain public lands from settlement for the protection of the watershed, supplying water to the city of Los Angeles and other cities and towns to the state of California for other purposes. And then there's President Hood's executive order, the order 5843, which revoked the executive order 1529 that gave the Paiute tribe water and land rights. And then Roosevelt's executive order 6206 temporarily withdrew the entire Owens Valley watershed, quote, in aid of the legislation for the protection of the water supply of Los Angeles.
Do you have dates on those, by chance? I would assume
Yeah.
it should be Hoover's, and
Yeah,
that's
there
early
are.
20s.
Yeah, they're all before the land exchange.
Yeah, which was 35?
34.
34, okay.
34. And that's when we were actually finally they created the 4 reservations was through the initial land exchange. But there was the executive order, not the executive order, the HR 11969 that gave us like 2,000 over 2,000 acres, just kind of throughout the area. So more of a significant portion of land, or it's actually 67. What am I saying? Yeah, way more. You know, we're the tribe that we visited in Bishop, that was only 835 acres. So this is a significantly larger portion of land that we initially acquisited, but because of lobbying and just interest within, you know, LAPP and just protection of their water supply, you have these executive orders that came out by 2, you know, presidents that, you know, we see very. I feel like he's even kind of held to a higher regard. There's a lot of, you know, the Hoover Dam. There's Roosevelt actually drove by the big pine, the big tree. Why it's named Big Pine is because Roosevelt planted a tree, and it's just right at the beginning of town. Passed by it. It's not, but I don't know. I feel like they're fairly well-known presidents, and then it's just something that's probably lesser known of what they did, and you know, that kind of definitely. The sequence of events of, you know, that policy has led us to kind of where we are today, and led us into the land exchange, which left us with way significantly less amount of lands that we initially had and were initially granted. And you know, this is all done, and you know, you just think of it as a 200-year period before contact, 300-year period. You know, we didn't have the idea or just even the concept of land ownership. We didn't have fences, borders, that. It was just like we would just walk through the land freely, and then, you know, that's when the first ranchers came in, and they started putting in fences, and it was like, oh, this is my land, this is my ownership, this is my township, you know, kind of created that and built up fences, and all of a sudden we would be able to pass through, you know, walk freely through this land, and that was just a completely foreign concept to us. And you know, when a lot of these were happening, you know, these old Indians, they didn't know, you know, what these laws were, or what they were really agreeing to, and everything. A lot of it was very deceitful, and you know, as soon as, you know, they give you, okay, here, we give you this, and you know, how do they really even know any sort of frame of reference? To then all of a sudden, no, you guys don't have any lands again. To, okay, back, you're only gonna have a fraction of what was originally yours, what was originally your homelands, what was originally where we originated, where people existed for millennia. It's just within in such a short amount of time is, I guess, give some, take it all away, give a little and take it again. Pretty much essentially the relationship of the federal government and the tribe. So yeah, this is the end of, well, I'm not exactly sure where this is from exactly, but right here to the right is the Silmar spill gates. As we pass right through them again, as we're coming back down right in 14, where the 14 and the 5 pretty much meet up on the hill. Sometimes you see still water flowing, and this is believed from when the water had first reached the Owens, or reached the spill gates, and it takes about 8 months for the gravity-fed channel to, start from the LA aqueduct and all the way get there. I believe this was sometime in November 8th. For some reason, I can't think of my mind. I could be completely wrong on that, but I know it was for sure November. And this is, where William Mulholland was famously quoted as, "There it is, take it." And I feel like that just really, just kind of set the tone of the entire relationship between LADWP and the Owens Valley, and just how they really view the water in general. It's just, there it is, take it, commodity, just here it is. Like, it's very bold. I feel like, even today, especially with what all has happened since then, is just that set the tone of our how everything was. And I mean, imagine even within the building of the second aqueduct, it's like they weren't satisfied by the initial runoff, so we're gonna start ground pumping. We weren't satisfied by the initial one aqueduct, we're gonna build another. And hell, I mean, what they're doing up in the Long Valley right now, and the ranchers and up there, they're really conflicting now, is because they're trying to take away the water leases within the ranches up in that area, willing to dry it up, just so they can get more and more water. Or what they were speaking on earlier about the riparian habitats of all the cottonwood trees and everything down by the rivers, and they would cut off the trees because they didn't even want the trees to have the water. It's insane, like how hungry, how much you can't just quench their thirst. And then when they get surpluses of water down there, like, what do? Put it in the ocean. It just doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, I don't know if we actually did anyone see any of these signs all throughout the valley? Like, go back, any of these? They're littered all throughout the entire valley. These are actually new ones. A lot of people shoot them, use them as like hard. But yeah, I don't know if we were really in an area to really see them, but like, trust me, any of those dirt roads that we got off of, that'll be one of the first things you see. Down any road we take in the entire valley, they own it.
Which is amazing when you see those signs, and they're just littered across the landscape.
Everywhere.
You really get a feel for how huge the amount of land that they own. It's like 200,000 acres that they own, something like that. Which is sizably South Islands.
Here's an old historic photo of the lake. I would say the pump back station where we were would probably be somewhere around here. Then we were, just barely even making a dent of like how big the lake really is. And then here's a satellite view of it itself. And we were probably somewhere, right around here. It looks like that's where the gravel pits and even the ponds that we were kind of standing next to, somewhere near there. But look at all this. It's gross. That's the majority of it. And even some of the restoration projects and everything that they've done, they do it on the ends that you can see while driving up, 395. I feel like when you get by the Crystal Geyser plant and everything, you're down here, and they have sort of like this vantage point. You can kind of see it in that way. It's just the middle is just, it's just gross, barren. And here's a map of LADWP owned lands, and this right here. So here's actual LA itself, and then the aqueduct goes all the way up, and here's where it sort of meets the California aqueduct, where they get more water from the other side of the valley, or the other side of the range. And here's just some spread out just open parcels of land where they own, all the way to Mono Lake, and land where they own up in that way too, and Second Aqueduct, which is probably like right around here. Okay.
So these are the ecological researches. So 188 acres of wetland and riparian habitat. This supports various endangered and rare plants and animal species. Less than 6 inches of rainfall a year, and it's designated to the ACEC in 1982.
So that's an area of critical environmental concern. This is what we were referring to yesterday with the COSO project and where the pupfish actually exist. These ponds right here actually aren't the ponds. It's in fish slough, but these are the ponds that are inhabited by the bass and the catfish and all the other animals, or the other fish that'll eat at the pupfish. Like, if you want to know the actual size of the actual pupfish ponds, they're maybe a little bit deeper than the ponds that we saw yesterday. They're actually very, very small. The majority of the lands, or the majority of the ponds inside fish slough, the ecological reserve are inhabited by bass and other non-native fish species. But this is, some of the last populations and last habitats of, at least for now, I believe, of the pupfish, until we can, get the permits and everything to take them and put them back on COSA and, where they go after that. But this is fish slough. We didn't get a chance to actually visit there, but it's just north of Bishop, right up to the volcanic tablelands, and pretty neat area, a little oasis. And here's just some of some plants. I believe that it was the milk vetch that we were talking about yesterday. I believe that's an endemic species in the area. Mariposa lizzie, the lily. I know that that's on the threatened species. They're both located in the ecological reserve, just the volcanic tablelands. I'm sure there was a practical usage of it, not as knowledgeable as I should be on medicinal plant species, and that's something that I can definitely work on in my life to learn more. But I imagine we had thousands and thousands of years to figure out how to use these plants and how to use even just every part of an animal and everything effectively. These people were conditioned to live in that area, and if there wasn't any contact, hell, they would have still been there. And we still are. We're not gone. We haven't disappeared, but we could have continued on.
Questions?
Questions? Don't put your slides in.
You might have covered this actually, and I might have missed it. But for the basket making, was there like a specific type of grass or vegetation that was used mainly to make that, or is it just kind of whatever?
Well, there's different types of just different baskets. You can have pine needle baskets. Specifically for the winnow, I believe that the edges were like willow. I'm not exactly 100% sure.
Variety.
Yeah, but there's different ways to make baskets, and there's I think the pine needles is definitely one way. But I know that the edges right here, I believe, were willow. The inside, I'm not 100% sure. I know that we made a lot of things with toolies. I know that wouldn't have been what that is specifically, but I know a lot of toolie mats. We sleep on toolie mats. And even to build our Tonys, like this is called a Tony. Those are built with willow and tule as well, and you could actually even eat the tule. If you were to pick up the bottom, sort of the ends, you pull it out, and the white tips is like a bit of it that is edible, not the whole thing, not the whole stalk, but
Is it like the root?
yeah, sort of thing. A lot of the the plants that we would harvest and stuff were either seeds or a lot of bulbs and roots and violet and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure of what would all go into making the Willow basket, but I know definitely Willow was a part of it.
Other questions?
So, you grew up there and you've taken this class and you understand, I guess, the complexities of the ecosystem and then the usage of water. So, understanding what you know now, if you could change how the water is distributed, how it's collected, did you come up with any ideas or like?
Well, there's no way that, I mean, it's not even necessarily anything we're going to be asking for. Would be to cut off the water supply, because whatever has happened has already happened. This is the situation that we do live in now, and we're not asking to like shut off the water supply to LA. They do need it. I believe they need to do a better job about how they use it. That's a big thing. They can lay off on a lot of the groundwater pumping, because that's where we're getting real problems. And like even like what my dad said is like how much he's changed. In my life, I haven't even seen change. We've had trees in my yard and everything too even die, and we had to cut them down because the water table dropped and they didn't reach the roots anymore. We'd be up in the mountains, way up, real high, and I don't remember, it's some sort of cottonwood, but the ones that just go straight up instead of fanning out. But we would be able to be up, like up and heading towards like Sabrina, and we'd be able to look down and know exactly where we live because we could see our trees, they're 200 feet high. But so we're not really asking to cut off the water. We would like, water rights. We'd like to use our water rights to full extent. We need more land. It is what they say, an accidental paradise because you can't really develop on a lot of the land, but we just have simply way too many members for the amount of land that we are on. Another big point is we'd like people to become more educated on where the water comes from, what the story was, and not just a fabricated story. So one thing that had really kind of bugged me, and I came on this trip as a student. That's how I kind of viewed is, I am from there and I'm knowledgeable on certain aspects of what's been going on, the histories and everything. But ultimately I came here as a student, but there was a few things that those guys from LADGP that were saying that was just like,
Tell us.
What was one of the things? He didn't call it an accidental paradise, but he had a, I've said it a few times, I can't remember the
Probably
term.
meant something.
Yeah, but it was not an accidental paradise, but like a success, or I don't remember how he kind of framed it. But I think he was maybe even talking about the mitigation efforts, and the whole reason they're even doing those is because we sued them.
Mm-hmm.
We sued them, and you had to like what we were referring to earlier, they had to sue pretty much, or get mad at the state of California to just enforce their law, or just didn't enforce the law. Any of their projects and they kind of frame themselves as being the big water managers, which they are, but like as if they're doing something really positive, they're doing all these good things, but they're the whole source of the damn problem. You can't really get mad at the individual person himself, because they're not, they're only a tiny little fraction of the whole broader scheme. You want to get mad if you go up to Hope Street, you go up to their building and protest and do all sorts of different things, talk to the board of supervisors, but a lot of why I personally believe a lot of what has happened and why we are too is even our own local government, and a little bit of corruption and bribery and everything that was within there. And on our way up, I was telling Brittany and Amanda and whoever was in our car, just different things that were just kind of going up to my mind on our way up. And another example of something that's kind of going on is that really shows just kind of corruption within our local government is the Q Hot Springs. Hot Springs, it's a hot ditch. So that is just south of Bishop. There's a hot springs out there, and it's owned by the Browns family. Browns family is a very wealthy and prominent family within the entire, just the valley. The ranchers, they're business owners. There's just certain good old boy system like that is definitely in place even to this day that is just unequal shares of power. And I know back in the day, like when I was a lot younger, some of the people that were in like the county office and board of supervisors, they would just lay down to like a lot of what LAPUP would say, and like it's just because you later hear about even like kickbacks or just other sort of like things that like even the agreement of the long-term water agreement. It's not a perfect document, and it took a lot of time. And yeah, they had the EIR, which was great, but I feel like we screwed ourselves over in a lot of different ways, of agreeing to that. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with like the groundwater pumping. Like another thing he was referring to, like doing their some of their they could pump up to 90,000 acre feet of water up to Owens Valley, and he was talking about, we only pump 330,000 or I think 30,000 acre. But a single acre foot of water equates to 326,000 gallons. So I mean, yeah, it's a lot of freaking water. I mean, there's a lot of water in the area, but like if you're taking it from the water table, it's detrimental to the area, the Laws area, the Big Pine area, stuff like that. Like, how much water do you really need? Especially after years like this, like we're gonna get a ton of runoff. They're still gonna be pumping. They're still gonna be pumping. They're still gonna just get to max capacity of how much they can kind of get out, and that's a lot of the change that I think I'd personally like to see is maybe not taking out the water, because we can't. There's no way that we can shut off the funnel and just turn it off. That's even after the hardest fight, the monster that is LA would probably still find a way to get the water. But to at least just try and mitigate and just be more honest of like why they're mitigating and why they're kind of doing these sustainability projects, doing these, I feel like they kind of framed it that, we're just trying to like, take care of the land, we're trying to, really, like this is all of our doing, but no, it's because we had to go through different processes and live through, breathing dust for 80 years and doing all this, impactful shit pretty much to like finally get them to do something. And they're not even fully like agreeing or like going fully meeting like the goals in a lot of these projects. And I mean, yeah, the dust mitigation project cost $2 billion, which is a lot of money. You got to think of how many people and how much of a difference that really made. Having the LA Aqueduct made, the metropolitan area that it really is. $2 billion is nothing compared to how much economic growth has been generated through LA County, since. So,
have you seen any, or do you notice any of the floor, since you're pumping so much groundwater, like the valley floor lowering or
Subsided.
Yeah,
like
I
San
believe
Joaquin?
that's happening out more like the Big Pine area. They're having really serious issues of lowering the water and subduction zones and stuff like that. I don't believe that it's necessarily to the extent of, let's say, the San Joaquin Valley.
Yeah, that's
Their
the thing.
subduction zones,
Yeah,
but
that's the one.
it's definitely a problem out there, and I think the biggest thing is just how much vegetation has just been eliminated. And another interesting point that I didn't really think about, so we brought when our right up, is how much impacts that the mines have potentially had, and even this diversion of the water flow, kind of how it is. And I didn't really think of that before. And the majority of the time I'm driving up, and when I go up there, I'm driving, so you can only kind of pay attention to so much. But this time, since I wasn't driving, I was really looking around, and I know that I've always known we have a ton of mines, but even just from what I've learned in this class and others, like I just kind of applying some of that, like I was looking at it, like, wow, like this is really freaking altered, like really, really altered, like the land and everything, like even when we were at the Fossil Falls, like I was just like looking at that, and I was just like, man, that's like a whole section of like the entire mountain is like blown up. Like, what did this used to look like back in the day? And kind of going off on a tangent, but yeah.
I have a question for you, Noah, and I'd asked your dad yesterday, but he answered it, but in the trade of land, the tribe traded for the land that they have now, they lost the water rights
Yeah.
in that process, and I think that was incredibly a critical junction right there. You want to speak to that a little bit? Unless I just did.
Yeah, I mean, water rights, yeah.
Because you had the water rights on the land that was
Yeah.
created.
We did. We initially had the water rights. Now we don't. We haven't. Down to like the actual details, I do need to be more knowledgeable in it myself, but I know that, that is a big portion of what we're fighting for, is just to get those rights back. And that's actually sort of a similar situation for a lot of tribes all over the place. I know just even for example, like the Pyramid Lake tribe, another band of Paiutes, they were fighting for their water rights for over 100 years until they were finally granted them. And it's just something that I know we need. We need them. We simply need water rights. I feel we need hunting rights. I feel like there's different things that would really benefit our community and our general health in the area if we had certain rights.
Well, if you're sovereign, you should have.
Yeah. I mean, we do to a certain extent, but a lot of times there's been agreements that LAPUP has proposed that would actually inhibit on some of our sovereignty rights, and sovereignty rights are very important in any federally recognized tribe. We are our own nation, our own governing entity, and that is what's really important is to be even more autonomous and self-governing. If we had water rights, we do have private wells and stuff like that, but let's say we wanted to, I don't know what the exact answer may be, but some sort of economic development using the water in some sort of way, or even just restoration work or the agricultural land or whatever it sort of may be. If we had the water rights, we could do a lot more and it would give us a lot more empowerment towards the people. And we were literally from the land of the flowing water, and we don't have water rights. Like, I don't know. It's an important part of our identity too, and in our modern times, to be able to have an actual say and have a right to this resource is incredibly important.
Cool.